Welcome to Crisis in Perception, and we examine the systems shaping our world one book at a time.
All right, let's just jump right in with a huge question, one that I think is on a lot of our minds. Why are society's biggest problems, things like deep-seated inequality, why are they so incredibly hard to solve?
Well, a big part of the answer might just be in how we're trained to look at these problems. We usually see them as totally separate issues, each in its own little box.
So you have racism over here, classism over there, sexism in a completely different conversation. And when we try to tackle them one at a time, it feels like we're playing whack-a-mole, right? You knock one down and another one just pops right back up. It can feel pretty hopeless.
But what if that whole approach is just wrong from the start? There's this book, a collection of talks from some really sharp thinkers called Rethinking Race, Class, Language, and Gender. And it basically says, hey, you've got to stop looking at the individual threads and start seeing the entire web. The core idea here is a real game changer. It says these things we see as separate issues. They're not separate at all. They're all woven together in what the book calls a matrix of oppressions. It's one big, interconnected system, and that means you can't really fix one piece of it without understanding how it connects to everything else. It's all linked.
Okay, to really get this, let's try an analogy. Imagine society is like a computer's operating system, right? It's running on code. But here's the kicker. This book argues that our social operating system is riddled with bugs. And these aren't new bugs. They were written into the source code a long, long time ago.
And here's the thing. These aren't random glitches. They're features, not bugs. The system, built way back on foundations like colonialism and certain economic models, was actually designed to create unequal outcomes. So the inequality we see today, that's not the system breaking. That's the system working exactly as it was programmed to do.
This isn't just a cool metaphor either. It has real-world roots. As the scholar Ame Shauki puts it, there's a material basis for all this. These so-called bugs are literally built into the economic competition that's at the heart of our society.
All right, let's make this even more concrete. Let's look at a historical example of how this code was deliberately written to create division from the very beginning.
So back in the American colonies, you had this really interesting moment. Poor European and African laborers were actually teaming up against the wealthy ruling class. And this absolutely terrified the people in power. So what do? They rewrote the code. They deliberately invented a racial hierarchy. They gave poor white workers special privileges and a new status, basically turning them into a buffer to control the enslaved African population. And just like that, class unity was shattered and racial division got hardwired right into the system.
Well, that leaves us with a really important question, doesn't it? Why would regular working people buy into ideas that are designed to divide them and actually make them weaker as a group?
Well, this quote from Keeanga Yamatada Taylor really hits the nail on the head. She explains that the system runs on what she calls false scarcity. It's this powerful idea that there just isn't enough to go around for everybody. Now, that scarcity might be artificially created, but the competition it fuels, that's 100% real. It forces people to fight each other for jobs, for housing. And when you're in that kind of fight, you become way more willing to believe negative things about others to justify why you should get ahead, not them.
Okay, so if the whole system is the problem, where do we even start to fix it? The book's answer is that we need a new lens, basically a completely new way of seeing the world.
And this new lens has a name: critical pedagogy. Now, this isn't about memorizing dates and facts. It's a way of learning that actually gives you the tools to analyze and, more importantly, challenge the power structures that cause all this injustice in the first place. It's about learning to read not just the words on a page, but the world around you at the same time.
It kind of boils down to three big steps. First, you have to see the connections. You have to see how all these seemingly separate issues are actually linked. Second, you have to understand where it all comes from, digging down to those historical, systemic roots. And once you've done that, you can finally begin to challenge the whole system, not just patch up the symptoms one by one.
So, what's the big deal? Why does looking at things this way actually matter? What really changes when you zoom out and see the whole picture? Well, for one, it completely shifts your focus. You stop looking for individual bad apples to blame, and you start seeing the entire system. All the rules, the customs, the hidden privileges that silently keeps producing these unfair outcomes over and over again. It's about the design of the building, not just the people inside it. And that really leads us to the final big question that this book leaves you thinking about.
What could we actually accomplish? What becomes possible when we stop tinkering with the broken pieces and start seeing and really challenging the whole system? For the full, long-form, deep dive into this book and its ideas, follow the link in the description.
If you enjoy these explainers, please subscribe and comment with books or topics you'd like us to explore next.